Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and how are you doing today? I hope you are all doing very, very well. So we have another announcement from the Criterion collection, this time with respect to the planned releases for February 2020. So, the first film that I'd like to talk about is scheduled for release February 11th, 2020, and it's this film from 2018, Alfonso Cuarón's Roma. This is scheduled for Spine 1014. This is an interesting selection, is it not? For a number of reasons, I think. One, because this is a very, very recent release coming in 2018. But it fits the mission statement of the Criterion collection, does it not, in terms of the presentation of both classic and contemporary works of cinema. So this definitely falls in the latter category, I would say. And judging also from its critical acclaim and the attention that it garnered during the time of its initial release, and also in terms of its release itself, and I'll get to that in a minute. This film, I think, holds a lot of holds a lot of specialness, if you want to put it that way, in the context of a broad look from a critical perspective. Now, I should say that I have not seen this film yet. I've mentioned it a number of times in my videos, but for those of you who are new to this channel, I just want to let you know that I am very, very bad when it comes to recent releases. It's very difficult for me to go to the movie theater, and it's a little bit difficult for me to watch recent releases due to my own personal circumstances at the moment. So I have not seen this film yet, although I've always wanted to, based on the reputation that it has already earned based on what the film is about. So I'm looking forward to this very much on that basis. The other point I do want to bring up, though, is the fact that this is a Netflix film, and so we have a Netflix film emerging on Criterion. So this is very interesting, right? Because we have now Netflix and Criterion in an interesting partnership, if you will, that is centered around this film Roma. So what does this mean for the future? Who knows? It's certainly something that is not clear to me. And just because there is one film in the Criterion collection does not mean that there will be a flood of Netflix films going forward. Although never say never, of course. And so it's just an interesting point to raise and to bring up with respect to this. But before I continue, let's just see what the special features are. So there is a 4K digital master supervised by Cuarón and a Dolby Atmos soundtrack on the Blu-ray. Then there is a new documentary called Road to Roma, featuring behind-the-scenes footage and an interview with the director. And there is Snapshots from the Set, a new documentary featuring actors and producers and production designer and casting director, so other members of the crew. And then there is new documentaries about the film's sound and post-production processes. So this is also about the technical aspects, it sounds like, about the film. Then there's a new documentary about the film's ambitious theatrical campaign and social impact in Mexico. Then there is a new video essay called Nothing at Stake. Interesting. Then there are trailers, and there are alternate French subtitles and Spanish SDH for the film. And essays by novelist Valeria Luiselli and historian Enrique Krause, along with Blu-ray only, writing by author Aurelio Asiain, and production design images with notes by the production designer Eugenio Caballero. So that sounds very interesting indeed. So it looks like, and also new cover by Neil Kellerhouse. So the cover art is right here. So there we have the presentation for the film Roma. So once again, my friends, this is one that I have not seen, but thanks to the Criterion collection, I will be able to see it. So I'm looking forward to this very much. So once again, scheduled for release February 11th, 2020 for Spine 1014. This is the film Roma. Next, scheduled for release February 18th, 2020, Spine 1013. Okay, Spine 1013. This is Pier Paolo Pasolini's TEOREMA from 1969. So this is sometimes referred to in English as theorem, but here it's given the Italian title TEOREMA. And this is 98 minutes. So, from Italy. So, this is a film that is a very peculiar work. I think I know a number of acquaintances of mine who have very excellent tastes in cinema who don't really like this film very much. And yet I know another group of acquaintances who really love this film. So it really, I think, depends on where you are and what your tastes are in cinema, as is the case with every other film, of course. But there's something very interesting about how this seems to be a sort of polarizing work. Some people really love it, some people really hate it. And I don't think that there is any one right answer to this film, because I admit that this film is a very, very difficult film in many respects, but it is very challenging and quite provocative, and it is filled with, I think, a lot of almost biting and stinging ideas and approaches to the sort of upper class, or the illusions of class, if you will. And those illusions are shattered based on real fundamental human emotions and instincts and desires, whether they be in terms of a want or sexual needs or something else. I think there is something quite fundamentally human about what is being discussed in this film. And therefore, I find this film to be quite an engaging work, a work that is very important in the context of Pasolini's film career, I would say. So it means yet another Pasolini film as well in the Criterion collection. And if that's the case, then I am very happy indeed. This is TEOREMA. So the Criterion collection will be presenting a new restored 4K digital transfer with uncompressed monaural soundtrack on the Blu-ray, and then alternate English dub soundtrack featuring the voice of actor Terence Stamp and others. That's a very good thing. I should point out that there is a general approach that is one that I espouse, which is if you have if you have a film that is from a country that is a non-English speaking country, then usually it's more preferred to go with the film in the language of its country of origin, so to speak. So in this case, it would be Italian. However, there is a very interesting thing about the English dub version, or the English language version of this film, in that you do get the real voices of some of these actors, in particular the actor Terence Stamp. And so there is a kind of value of listening to the English language version of this film. So I'm glad it's included here. It's really great. Then there's an audio commentary from 2007 with Robert Gordon, who's the author of the book Pasolini, Forms of Subjectivity. I understand, actually, I think this is going to be the same commentary track that was made available on the BFI release of this film. I don't know if you know this, but the BFI actually released this film on a dual format release. And I have that somewhere actually here. So this is probably, if it says 2007, then I'm going to be assuming that this will be the same commentary track that we saw on the BFI release. And then there is an introduction by director Pasolini from 1969. And then there is an interview from 2007 with Terence Stamp, and if I understand correctly, yes, this could also be a carryover from the BFI release. Then there is a new interview with John David Rhodes, author of Stupendous Miserable City, Pasolini's Rome. So this is saying it's new, so this is probably going to be a Criterion-produced supplement. So that should be very interesting. I'm looking forward to that. Plus a new English subtitle translation, plus more exclamation points. So we can expect more supplements, whatever they might be, between now and February. And an essay by film scholar James Quant. And there's new cover by Nassim Hickson, which is right here. I don't know if you can make it out. Again, I apologize for the poor quality of the presentation here, but it seems to be blue, maybe a subdued blue, perhaps, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of color going on apart from the blue and the beige. But it's I think, a very stark film. It's sort of sapped of any sharpness of color, perhaps, and I think that could be on purpose. And I think if knowing of, based on my own personal experience with the film, I would say that there is a certain, one could say that there is a certain thematic link with that kind of approach in terms of this presentation of cover art and what might be presented in the film. So in that sense, I think it's a relevant presentation of what the film is about. So this is great. So again, Pasolini is a very, I would say he's a very interesting filmmaker. I think he has certain films that are perhaps known more than others. Perhaps there are certain films in this filmography that get a lot of attention, whether it be positive or negative. It depends on your point of view. But it's very good to have more Pasolini films made available. So it'll be good to have this presentation when it comes into the Criterion collection. Let's just see how the Criterion collection release distinguishes itself from past releases, including, as I said, that BFI release from several years back. It seems like there are a number of supplements from that BFI release that are carried over to this Criterion release. But let's see what else Criterion has up its sleeve when it releases this in February 2020. This is one that I'm looking forward to very much. So this is TEOREMA. Next, also scheduled for release February 18th, 2020. This is going to be a Blu-ray upgrade of a film that is currently in the Criterion collection as a 2-disc DVD release at Spine 425. And the film is the work from 1984, Hiroshi Teshigahara's work, Antonio Gaudi. So this is the current DVD, 2-disc DVD from the Criterion collection, and you can open it up right there and see what it has to offer. So this is great. So we have this now on Blu-ray. This is an interesting coincidence too, because actually I was planning on talking about the works of Teshigahara in the context of the Criterion collection, and of course I would have talked about this film as well, but now that the film is going to be released on Blu-ray as well in February 2020, that's great news. So if you were thinking of getting this film on DVD, but you are interested in Blu-rays, etc., you might want to hold off a little bit. But if you are okay with DVDs, and there's nothing wrong with this DVD presentation, it is really great, then you can get it right now, or you can wait for February and the Blu-ray. In any event, my friends, we have the film coming again in February 2020, which is great because I don't know if you've seen this film, but it is a really deep, methodical, contemplative approach to this notion of art and architecture. And it's very lovely and very beautifully presented. It's really kind of a memorable meditation on art, if you will. So it's really great to see this on Blu-ray, and hopefully this will mean it'll get even more attention from people who are interested not only in works about art and architecture, but also the works from Teshigahara. So I'm very much looking forward to this, and hopefully this will give more attention to Teshigahara and this work. So I should just point out very quickly that the special features that are mentioned here are the high-definition digital restoration with uncompressed monaural soundtrack on the Blu-ray. So it looks like, as far as the transfer is concerned, it will probably be the same transfer, although let's check that when we see the Blu-ray in February. And then there is an interview with architect Arata Isozaki, and from 2008, and so that is probably going to be the same interview which is also included here. Then there is footage from director Teshigahara's first trip to Spain called Gaudi Catalunya 1959, and that's also carried over from this DVD. Then there is an hour-long documentary called Visions of Space from 2003, and that is also carried over from here. And then there is a program by Ken Russell, and also the Ken Russell BBC program is also carried over from here. And then there is a short film called Sculptures by Sofu Vita from 1963, and this is on the sculpture work of the father of Hiroshi Teshigahara, who's Sofu Teshigahara. So that is also taken from this DVD. And then plus there is a booklet with essay by the art historian Dora Ashton, and a 1986 reminiscence by Teshigahara himself, and excerpts from a 1959 conversation between father and son, Hiroshi and Sofu Teshigahara, on their trip to the West, plus the cover art by Sarah Habibi, which is really great. I just want you to notice, again, I apologize for the poor presentation here, but if you notice, I love the little details here. If you look carefully at the words here, the color of the text is actually different in terms of here. The top here, it looks like a lighter red, whereas the bottom here, it looks like a deeper rouge. So I love the little difference there, and the artwork is great. It looks like it's going to be the same artwork that we have in the current DVD release, so which is really quite striking and visually very bold in terms of its stark simplicity, I would say. So really well done. This is another film that I was planning to talk about in terms of films that I would recommend people watch in the Criterion Collection that don't necessarily get talked about a lot. So this is great news. So now that the Blu-ray is coming out, hopefully that will give some people the opportunity to explore it and to watch it. Now, I think that the film is available on the Criterion channel to watch. Yes, according to this website, it looks like it's available to watch right now. So if you are interested in finding out what this film has to offer, then if you have the Criterion channel, then I would strongly suggest watching the film on the Criterion channel. It's not very long. It's only about an hour and 10 minutes or so, I think. So it goes by very quickly. But again, it's a very deep and meaningful presentation of this kind of world. So I would strongly recommend that you take a look if you haven't already. So this is the film Antonio Gaudi, Spine 425, scheduled for a Blu-ray release February 18th, 2020. Next, scheduled for release February 25th, 2020. This is going to be a set. Very interesting set. The set itself is called Three Fantastic Journeys by KAREL ZEMAN. So the Czechoslovakian filmmaker KAREL ZEMAN is a really unique filmmaker and almost visionary in terms of the ways in which he portrays sort of the virtuosity of cinema, and in particular the visual flourishes of actual characters or actual actors, and also animation, and also different tricks of cinema as well, to create these really bold and inventive tales. So to have 3 films, plus some short films, as it seems to be the case according to the supplement, which is also very good news, and I'll get to that in a second. This is incredible. This is an incredible thing to have. Now, I should say that my experience with the works of ZEMAN comes directly from the releases of his films that we saw from the UK label called Second Run. I have a number of the Second Run releases, including the ZEMAN works actually over there, and the label itself is awesome. It is an awesome label, and they have a number of films from usually from Eastern Europe, but not exclusively. So, but some of the works that we have are actually some of the films from ZEMAN. So in fact, you can get the films that are in this Criterion set. You can get them as, I think they're either DVD or Blu-rays in the Second Run lineup. So if you're interested, you should take a look. And there are some slight differences in terms of the supplemental features that are offered over there versus on the Criterion collection, although there is some crossover, and I'll get to that in a second. Also, I think the film that Second Run also released on DVD, I think, which is called The Jester's Tale. I don't think it's being included in this set. Also, ZEMAN's works are also available. I think it's called the KAREL ZEMAN Museum. If you look at the website, there are, I think, a number of his films that are available on DVD from Europe, and so you can take a look also at that as well. But what I want to say is that it's really great news that Criterion has decided, or is now able to release 3 films from him. His works have gotten a lot of attention from other labels, of course, but to have Criterion now dip its toe in the water, the ZEMAN waters, if you will, it's really great news. So what we have here is the set, which is made up of these 3 films, and I'll get to those in a second. Well, actually, let's get to them right now. So the first film is from 1955. This is scheduled for release under Spine 1015, Journey to the Beginning of Time. So this is a really cool film, and there are a number of special effect sequences that are actually quite amazing. So if you haven't seen this film, I think you are in for a real great visual treat. It's going to be so much fun to hear people's reactions to this film. So again, this is scheduled for release on Spine 1015. Next is Spine 1016, and this is from 1958. This is Invention for Destruction. So this is a story that is based off of, or maybe inspired by, the works of Jules Verne. So really another kind of visual treat, and there is a real almost sense of wonder in terms of its world building. So I think we have another film that is going to be a great one for the senses and a wonderful delight. So I'm looking forward to seeing the reaction to this film when people see it. So really a lot of fun. Some actually very inventive moments here that are full of a lot of surprises. So this is Invention for Destruction. Again, Spine 1016. Next is Spine 1017, The Fabulous Baron Munchausen. So this is another great visual marvel that blends many different elements of cinema, live action and sort of animation, and a lot of certain visual tricks, if you will. And there are there is a real loving care when it comes to the presentation of the visual artistry that is at work here, and it's undeniable. Absolutely undeniable. So this is another one. This is from 1962, a color treat. Really, really quite fascinating. So this film, the Fabulous Baron Munchausen, Spine 1017. Going back to the set overall, I should point out that according to the Criterion website, it does not appear that the box set, or the set, whatever, if it's a box or not, I'm not sure, but it doesn't appear like the set itself will be getting its own spine number. At least there doesn't seem to be any description of a spine number as far as I can tell on the website. So that might change, who knows, but as of now, there doesn't seem to be any spine number indication for the set itself. So we're getting spine numbers for the individual films within the set. But what we are getting are new 4K digital restorations of all three films, with uncompressed monaural soundtracks on the Blu-rays. This is interesting. It says new, but I have a hunch, and we should check this when it's going to be released, but I have a hunch these might be the same 4K restorations that we saw with the second run releases of these films. That I wouldn't be surprised if they were the same, which is not bad at all, because those second run presentations I think are really great. So there's that. Then there are new programs with animation filmmaker John Stevenson. Oh, that's great. And special effects artists Phil Tippett and Jim O'Pearl discussing director KAREL ZEMAN and his complex visual trickery. This is really great because John Stevenson and Phil Tippett and Jim O'Pearl are, I think, known for their animation work and special effects animation work in quote-unquote modern films. So it'll be nice. This seems like it's going to be an appreciation by filmmakers of a filmmaker, and Criterion does those very well. So this is going to be great. It says new programs, not programs, so programs. So we can assume that there will be more than one supplement based off of this description right here. Great. Next, 4 early short films by Zeman. A Christmas Dream from 1946, A Horseshoe for Luck, 1946, Inspiration, 1949, and King Lavra from 1950. This is great because, now, I am not an expert in Zeman works as they've been released, so I'm not good with my history of release of his films on DVD and Blu-ray over the course of history. So I don't know the extent to which these films have been released, but my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, right, is that only 2 of these films have been made available through second run. So those 2 being Inspiration and King Lavra. I don't know if A Christmas Dream or A Horseshoe for Luck have been made available. So that is very interesting. So it'll be good to see those 2 earlier works together with the 2 later works. And again, more Zeman exposure, the better. So this is going to be great. It'll be a good learning experience for me to be able to see those 2 films. So looking forward to that very much. Then there is a really long, almost feature-length documentary from 2015 called Film Adventurer. And this is a documentary that is actually It's actually a documentary that is not a Criterion-produced one. You can find it on second-run releases. You can also, I think, find it on separate releases from the Karl Zeman museum releases from Europe, I think. So, and I think it has its own individual release, although please correct me if I'm wrong. But in any event, it's actually a really great documentary, and I'm glad it's being carried over from these other releases to Criterion, so that's really good news. Then there are short documentaries by the Karel Zeman Museum, profiling the director and detailing the production and effects of all 3 films. So I can assume that these are supplements that we found, or that we can find on those Karel Zeman Museum releases that are then going to be made available also in the Criterion collection. Again, I can't be sure because I don't have those museum releases, but it sounds like the possibility is there that it'll be the same supplements that we found, or that can be found on those Karel Zeman releases, although I can't be sure, and we should check that when the box or when the set does arrive in February. Then there is a US release version of Journey to the Beginning of Time from 1960, and an alternate English dub soundtrack for Invention for Destruction, and the opening sequence of the 1961 US release version. So this is very good to have those versions. There is actually a little bit of interesting history, I think, with respect to the English language versions of the films, but it's good to have these releases, these alternate versions here as well. That's really great. And then there's restoration demonstrations and an interview with restoration supervisor James Makowski. And then there are trailers, new English subtitle translations, and plus an essay by film critic Michael Atkinson, along with limited edition deluxe Blu-ray packaging featuring pop-up art. Okay, so this is interesting. So this is probably the reason why the set itself does not have its own spine number, although I'm just speculating here. Now it says here, okay, first of all, an essay by film critic Michael Atkinson, so that's really great. But then it says a limited edition deluxe Blu-ray packaging. It says limited edition deluxe Blu-ray packaging. So I don't know what that means. I can assume it means that there will be some kind of packaging art that will accompany all three films, like a box or something, or outer covering or something, featuring pop-up art. Okay, pop-up art. So that's going to be interesting. And it says limited edition. So I don't know how long it'll be made available. I don't know if it will be numbered or not. I'm not sure. But it says limited, so we can assume that maybe once a certain set stock is out, then there will be no other further printings made, although never say never with Criterion. But it does say limited, so we should keep that in mind. So for anyone who is a Criterion collection collector, please keep that in mind. It does say limited edition. And because it's limited, I can probably assume, although again, this is my own speculation, that because it's limited, that means there is a finite number of those, whatever, packaging. And once the packaging is out of stock, then the films will be made available without the packaging, which therefore makes sense that the packaging itself, or the box itself, or the set itself does not have its own spine number. So okay, so that's further indication that this is indeed going to be a limited edition packaging, whatever that may be. Very interesting, very exciting. It's almost like the packaging itself is trying to emulate the kind of visual experimentation that is at the heart and spirit of the ZEMAN film. So that's an interesting little thing. Again, we shall see what this pop-up art, this packaging itself, has to offer. And we should also mention the cover designs by Eric Skillman that we saw for this, and also the three individual works. Absolutely amazing, really lovely stuff. And so I love the kind of pastiche, almost retro feel to this, almost like almost also retro or maybe even steampunk feel to each of the separate artwork. So if that is carried over in whatever Criterion has up its sleeve with respect to the limited edition packaging art for the Blu-ray, then I think we're in for something very special. So this is something to keep an eye out for when it does get released. So really looking forward to this one. So once again, 3 fantastic journeys by KAREL ZEMAN. Last but certainly not least, this is scheduled for release February 25th, 2020. This is the film by Jenny Livingston, 1990's Paris is Burning, scheduled for release on Spine 1018. This is a kind of vibrant, energetic work filled with a lot of emotion and celebration for an almost an affirmation about certain ways of life and ways of living that are on screen and on display for everyone to see and to behold, and to just marvel in terms of the kind of richness that this film has to offer in this kind of portrait of fashion houses and design and outfits, and how it's very important in terms of self-expression and the idea of not holding something in, but actually having the ability to express oneself with vigor and with great sense of pride, which is important in terms of the subject matter that this film is tackling. So Paris is Burning is just one of those, I think, special films that I think it'll be great to see in the Criterion collection in February 2020. So I'm looking forward to this very much. In terms of the special features, we should say it has a new 2K digital restoration supervised by director Livingston with an uncompressed monaural soundtrack on the Blu-ray. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Then there is a new conversation between director Livingston and Ball community members Sol Pendavis and Freddie Pendavis and filmmaker Thomas Allen Harris. Great, so new conversation. So this is going to be, I assume, a Criterion-produced supplement. If so, great. Over an hour of never-before-seen outtakes. That is also great. You know, I don't have this on a previous release, and I admit I haven't seen this in a long time, but I don't know anything about the outtakes, so this is going to be something that is very new for me, so very interesting. Then there's an audio commentary from 2005 featuring Livingston, Ball community members Freddie Pendavis and Willie Ninja, and film editor Jonathan Oppenheim. So this audio commentary is from 2005, so this is going to be from a previous release, we assume. Then episode of The Joan Rivers Show from 1991, featuring Livingston and Ball community members Dorian Corey, Pepper LaBeija, Freddie Pendavis, and Willie Ninja. And trailer and more, M-O-R-E exclamation point, which is excellent because that means, of course, we can expect more features to be announced, hopefully between now and February, that will be included in the final product. So that's really great. Incidentally, the Joan Rivers Show from 1991, I think I actually saw that episode. And if it's the same episode that I'm thinking of, so it might be different, I'm not sure, but we'll see when the Criterion release is made. But if it's the same episode, then that's really great. Looking forward to this very much. Now, the artwork also is credited as being a new cover by Eric Skillman. So there we have Paris is Burning artwork there. Again, please take a look at the Criterion website directly for a better quality image than the one that I'm presenting right now, which is just my computer. Again, I apologize, but please take a look at the image in your own, in the comfort of your own computer by looking at the Criterion website directly. Really, really wonderful. I'm very happy about this. It's a kind of celebration, and it's a kind of energetic work. So it's something that is, I'm looking forward to this very much. So thank you very much, Criterion, for this Paris is Burning, again, scheduled for release Spine 1018 on February 25th, 2020. Okay, my friends, so this is the scheduled set of releases for 2020. What do you think? This is a very interesting set of releases, no? I'm very surprised by a number of them, and I am overall very pleased and very happy. And so I'm very much looking forward to these immensely. I suppose I should say that of these new releases scheduled for 2020 February, the one I have not seen is Roma. So I look forward to seeing that very much. As for the other releases, again, we have the upgrade of a film that I think deserves as much attention as it can get. So hopefully this Blu-ray upgrade will mean that it will get a lot of attention. Great. It's also, I should mention that it also has the BBC program with Ken Russell. So there is another Ken Russell connection with the Criterion collection right here in this set. So you're getting so much bang for your buck, if you know what I mean, with this set. So, or with this release, and that's planned to be upgraded to Blu-ray in February of next year. So really check it out if you have a chance. I highly recommend it. And then we have these other works. Paris is Burning. It's great to have that in the collection. The ZEMAN works in this intriguing limited edition packaging for the Blu-ray. very much looking forward to that. And TEOREMA, Pasolini's difficult, challenging work, very much looking forward to that as well. So I'm very pleased, but I rarely am displeased with Criterion announcements. They always bring a smile to my face, and they always shine. Some releases perhaps more than others, granted, but there's definitely a high level of quality here, that's for sure, when you're talking about February 2020. So what do you think, my friends? What are your opinions and thoughts of the February 2020 releases? Are you excited? Are you not excited? Are you somewhere in between? Are there any titles in particular that you are interested in? I'd love to hear what it is you have to think. So if you have any thoughts or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. It'll be my pleasure to read them and go over them and talk with you, my dear friends, about these February 2020 releases planned from the Criterion Collection. With that, my friends, I want to say thank you very much, and I hope you are all doing well. And until we meet again, please be happy and healthy. Please take good care of yourselves, and please, please, please keep on watching a lot of great, great movies. Right? You deserve it. Right? You've worked hard, so you deserve it, my friends. Okay, so until we meet again, cheers.